I'm there with you. I'm here with you. That's his thing. But on that kind of stage, which is a little cheesy for him compared to where he's performed, but he doesn't care. He just loves music, right? He loves the fans. He does love the fans a lot. That's the only reason he's there, and he knows that. He really has a love-hate relationship with all kinds of things because he's just been tortured by so many things in his life and career. And but that last show was, I was glad I was there and saw him one last time, but I didn't know he was going to pass away. It was just really awful and heartbreaking to hear that news. I still feel bad about it and forget, sometimes, and want to call him or something.
Yeah. Do you look back and wish you could have had just that extra conversation with him?
Well, I tried all I could, but I didn't want to drive him nuts with this type of stuff because it wasn't like his favorite thing, honestly. He would talk to me. He never said he didn't want to talk about anything, but I spoke to him. I'm sure he had people much closer to him than me that talked to him about everything, for sure, his family members. And it was just, everybody wished they could have saved him. And of course, but I think it was like being around people who alcoholics, growing up around alcoholics and seeing this, and you can't save that person. You can't do it, and you can't take that on yourself. But since we all loved him as an artist, and selfishly wish he was here, but he was very tortured, and he's at peace now, and that's the best thing I can say about it. Like, he didn't suffer some long, dreadful illness. He didn't have to go through this stupid COVID time, which is nonsense for everybody. This isn't even like living anymore. We got to get into life somehow again. I hope it all world opens up so I can actually meet you and other people. I like to go to London and go all around the world. I'm not a person that stays in one place. I love to travel and meet people, and that's the, makes the world one place, not all these separate little divided places. And David was about bringing people together with music, and look, he's doing it even right now. So that's really nice. I just try to look at the positives. There's things he wished he almost did. He told me he kind of wished he did this one thing. You probably know about this, but Lou Reed and David Bowie at one point after that period when David was around New York and he wasn't doing so good after the girl had been died at his show. He was kind of retired, and at one point Lou Reed and David Bowie pretty much wrote him proposed to do a rock opera for him. They wrote all these songs for him, and he went over to David Bowie's apartment when David Bowie was living in the West Village. David Bowie didn't live like too far from where I live now for a long time here too. He lived in New York for a long, long time. Lou Reed and Velvet Underground helped make the whole New York rock scene. There was no New York rock scene really before that. There was, Ronettes and people like that, and the Alan Freed rock and roll shows and that early rock and roll stuff, in Brooklyn Fox Theater and places like that. But in Manhattan, there wasn't really rock bands, like a rock scene, the same way until after, like Warhol, Velvet Underground, and then Lou Reed, and then New York Dolls, and on and on. It kind of progression and opened up. But Max's Kansas City was right near Union Square, where Warhol was. So all those people were around and part of this Warhol scene. Bowie and Lou Reed were certainly part of that. So Lou Reed and Bowie wrote this thing for David. They idolized David, and they thought he was great. They wanted to be him, really. They were like, wow, we wish we were that, in a way, And they wrote this rock opera thing for him, and like I'm All Grown Up Now was one of the songs, and it was kind of like in tandem with like the Naked Lunchbox Rolling Stone interview. It was kind of like with that, like they wanted to help him break out of being Teen Idol and be like, I'm a rock and roller, right? But David thought the songs were kind of too obvious, and he was already kind of like Bengali'd his whole life, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Like somebody was already writing all these songs. He wrote some songs, like Ricky's Tune. That was a beautiful song. They let him have some of his songs here and there, but then he had his own career, obviously. And he didn't want to go back where other people were writing the songs, unless it was, something he loved. He just wasn't hearing it. But he went to this scene with like, a wild scene, as you can imagine, in the 70s of Bowie and Lou Reed. And here's this whole thing for you, David. And like, we want you to really become super huge, like, and get cred and everything. And he just didn't hear it. He said, like, I kind of wish I would have done that in a way, but it just seemed so trite and obvious what they were portraying in their vision of me. And that's not how I really see myself. So I couldn't wholeheartedly go through with it. And I was still too fractured from the whole thing with the girl passing away and everything. They're people that have been famous and frustrated with it as well. And they're trying to they know he's aggravated by the business too. And they're trying to elevate him as an artist, right? And put him in this other place. But by doing that, it's kind of like too much focus on him. It's just like, okay, we just got to shake it off and start over instead of have people prepare this whole thing for you, even though he was terribly flattered by it and had some thoughts about maybe he should have done it. Yeah. And did whatever he did with them as well. But when he went to their, he just called it was like a real rock and roll bacchanalia freak scene when he went over there to wherever and they performed for him and said, these are these songs. Here's some, little demo ideas for this is what we have for you, in mind for you. They're all not, it's a shame they're all not here to talk about it because it'd be amazing to have all three of them talking about it. So that was like kind of a missed opportunity, a lot of people would say, because a lot of people don't even know about that. And we talked a little bit about that because I know people that have worked with both those artists, all those artists.
Yes, because there was talk of him forming a band with Mick Ronson. Yeah,
well, Mick Ronson, I'm friends with Susie Ronson. Susie Ronson is the person who cut David Bowie's hair and colored it for Ziggy Stardust and everything, and cut Mick's hair, and everybody is right in the band. She later married Mick Ronson after that little era, right? She liked David a lot. She said they had great respect for each other, Mick and David, but and Mick was involved in so many people's careers with Lou Reed and even John Cougar Mellencamp helped make hit records with. So Mick Ronson was a very important musician and very inspirational, and they definitely had a mutual admiration, and that would have been, they made some music together, which you've heard, and yes. He was more than just a guitar player, Mick Ronson. He got the big picture, and yes. It would have been good for them. But then, Mick was with Ian Hunter, and then solo, and then stayed with Ian Hunter for a long time, and then ended up doing some other things, production things with, like I said, John Cougar and some other people. He helped do Jack and Diane. That song, the sound of that song, especially the chorus and the exciting parts of that song, is down to Mick Ronson's ideas and creativity. All these people they recognize each other when someone has talent like that. They recognize it, and they have to say, like, that person has a gift, and I'd like to work with them. So David did work with Mick, but he would have liked to do a band with him. But, in a way, too, it's like sometimes there's too much for one room. I mean, David Cassidy is a big presence, and so is Mick Ronson. So think of that, because Mick and David Bowie was pretty balanced, and Mick really never got the credit he deserved. But David sure had it for him. David Cassidy sure had respect for Mick Ronson, absolutely. And everyone in New York did, for sure. Amazing talent.